Anti-submarine warfare was one of the headaches for Britain during World War I, especially when Germany launched unrestricted submarine warfare in 1917, resulting in a sudden increase in the number of ships attacked by U-boats. How to reduce damage and strike U-boats had long been a concern for Britain's maritime interests. In the early days of submarine warfare, in addition to effectively detecting and tracking submarines, there was also the issue of how to launch effective attacks. If the distance was too far, it was difficult to detect the depth of the periscope in time, and even if the opponent was discovered, they could dive in time to evade tracking. If the distance was too close, the impact of the angle of the ship's gunfire, along with the straight trajectory of the large-caliber ship gun due to the gun barrel's elevation angle, reduced the opportunity for effective firing. In 1916, Britain planned to develop a thrower weapon similar to the Heartless cannon. Although the British did not use this term at that time, it was only used for comparison. The weapon needed to have the same cunning and curved ballistic characteristics as the Heartless cannon, while the ammunition needed to have armor-piercing capabilities to penetrate the not-so-thick steel hull of the submarine. The delayed fuse inside would explode upon impact, causing heavy damage or even sinking the submarine with just one hit. In late 1916, Britain began the development of the BL 5-inch, 127mm caliber naval shell gun, a short-barreled howitzer that fired ammunition, improved from the 127mm caliber ship gun shell. It achieved some success in 1917. However, it was deemed that this ammunition had too little power. If it did not directly hit the submarine, the low amount of explosive charge after the explosion was not enough to effectively damage the submarine. Also, at the end of 1917, Britain began the development of the 7.5-inch, about 109mm naval shell gun, aiming to increase the caliber and the amount of ammunition to achieve a devastating blow. The basic structure of the cannon did not change much, still using a short-barreled structure, 1.619 meters long, without a hydraulic recoil structure, with the recoil force directly borne by the naval-type pedestal and supplemented by a simple mechanical aiming device. The shell of the cannon weighed 45.4 kilograms, with 19.5 kilograms of propellant inside. The initial muzzle velocity was only 146 meters per second, with a maximum range of 1920 meters, and the shell needed to fly for about 20 seconds. The curved trajectory, like a mortar, could attack most targets within the range, unless the target was very close to the ship. After testing, it was found that this larger caliber anti-submarine howitzer had considerable power, being able to penetrate the shell of the submarine with the shell's own weight. It also had a 2-second delayed fuse, so when the shell exploded inside the submarine, its destructive force was a fatal blow to the submarines of several hundred tons in displacement during World War I. Even if they did not hit directly, the shock wave from the explosion was enough to damage targets within a radius of several meters. At this point, the 7.5-inch naval shell gun had matured and had practical value. Later, another heavy shell was designed. This shell weighed 227 kilograms and used the propellant from the previous shell. This type of ammunition could be launched up to 275 meters, mainly used to attack approaching targets. In June 1917, the Navy received the first batch of howitzers, with a quantity of nearly 400 guns. The original plan was to equip at least 1,000 sets, but due to changes in the war, the production volume was adjusted and later changed to a rifled barrel. These howitzers were not only equipped on naval warships, but also on large and medium-sized merchant ships and cargo ships. With the torpedo range of the submarines during World War I, they indeed posed a substantial threat to submarines. Their small size and weight also allowed them to be installed discreetly without being detected by submarines. In March 1918, the 7.5-inch howitzer saw its first combat action when a transport ship was attacked by a U-boat. The crew did not initially notice the submarine, but were frightened by the torpedo launched by the submarine. The crew quickly adjusted the howitzer for attack, and at a distance of about 550 meters, the shell exploded. Although it was far from the torpedo, the huge explosion changed the course of the torpedo, diverting it about 50-60 meters away from the transport ship. Subsequently, these howitzers also patrolled with the Royal Navy in various locations. As World War I neared its end, the German submarines' attack capability had weakened significantly. Most of the time, the British used these howitzers for training. The tremendous explosive power was also very suitable for scaring new recruits and was suitable for training the psychological readiness of new recruits for combat. Later, Britain also planned to develop a 13.5-inch, 343mm caliber anti-submarine howitzer, but this plan was abandoned due to the end of World War I. As for the 7.5-inch howitzers that the British military had equipped, they were all dismantled in the 1920s and did not reappear for more than 10 years. It was not until World War II, when the threat of German U-boats re-emerged, that the British continued the attack pattern of the 7.5-inch howitzer, and with the support of new technology, successfully developed the Hedgehog anti-submarine rocket, although the firing principle was different. Its destructive power was incomparable to that of the past.